Look, I didn't want to be a half-blood. If you're reading this because you think you might be one, my advice is close this book right now, believe whatever lie your mom or dad told you about your birth, and try to lead a normal life. Being a half-blood is dangerous. It's scary. Most of the time, it gets you killed in painful, nasty ways. If you're a normal kid reading this book because you think it's fiction, great. Read on. I envy you for being able to believe that none of this ever happened. But if you recognize yourself in these pages, if you feel something stirring inside, stop reading immediately. You might be one of us, and once you know that it's only a matter of time before they sense it too, and they'll come for you. Don't say I didn't warn you. My name is Percy Jackson. I'm 12 years old. Until a few months ago, I was boarding student at Yancey Academy, a private school for troubled kids in upstate New York. Am I a troubled kid? Yeah, you could say that. I could start at any point in my short, miserable life to prove it. But things really started going bad last May when our 6th grade class took a field trip to Manhattan, 28 middle-class kids, and 2 teachers on a yellow school bus, heading to the Metropolitan Museum of Art to look at ancient Greece and Roman stuff. I know, it sounds like torture. Most Yancey field trips were. But Mr. Bruner, our Latin teacher, was leading this trip, so I had hopes. Mr. Bruner was this middle-aged guy in a motorized wheelchair. He had winning hair and a scruffy beard and a frayed tweed jacket, which always smelled like coffee. You wouldn't think he'd be cool, but he told stories and jokes and let us play games in class. He also had this awesome collection of Roman armor and weapons, so he was the only teacher whose class didn't put me to sleep. I hoped the trip would be okay. At least I hoped that for once I wouldn't get in trouble. Boy, I was wrong. See, bad things happen to me on field trips. Like at my 5th grade school, when we went to Satara Battlefield, I had this accident with a Revolutionary War cannon. I wasn't aiming for the school bus, but of course I got exploded anyway. But before that, at my 4th grade school, when we took a behind-the-scenes tour of the Marine Workshop Pool, I sort of hit the wrong lever on the catwalk, and our class took an unplanned swim. And the time before that, well, you get the idea. This trip, I was determined to be good. All the way into the city, I put up with Nancy Bubblefit, the freckly, red-headed kleptomanic girl, hitting my best friend Grover in the back of the head with chunks of peanut butter and ketchup sandwich. Grover was an easy target. He was scrawny. He cried when he got frustrated. He must have been held back several grades because he was the only 6th grader with acne and a stir of wispy beard on his chin. On top of all of that, he was crippled. He had no excusing him from PE or for the rest of his life because he had some kind of muscular disease in his legs. He walked funny, like every step hurt him. But don't let that fool you. You should have seen him run when it was a kill day in the cafeteria. Anyway, Nancy Bubblefit was throwing glass of sandwich that stuck in his curly brown hair, and she knew I couldn't do anything about her because I was already on probation. The headmaster had threatened me with death by in school suspension if anything bad, embarrassing, or even mildly entertaining happened on this trip. I'm going to kill her, I mumbled. Grover tried to calm down. It's okay, I like peanut butter. He dodged another piece of Nancy's lunch. That's it. I started to get up, but Grover pulled me back to my seat. You're already on probation, he reminded me. You'll know who'll get blamed if anything happens. Looking back on it, I wish I decked Nancy Bubblefit. Right then and there, in school suspension would have been nothing compared to the mess I was about to get myself into. Mr. Brunner led the museum tour. He rode up front in his wheelchair, guiding us through the big colony galleries, past marble statues and glass cases full of really old black and orange pottery. It blew my mind that this stuff had survived for 2,000, 3,000 years. He guided us around a 13-foot-tall stone column with a big sphinx on the top, and started telling us how it was a grave marker on a stele for a girl about our age. He told us about the carvings on the side. I was trying to listen to what he had to say, because it was kind of interesting. But everybody around me was talking, and every time I told him to shut up, the other teacher's chaperone, Mrs. Dodds, would give me the evil eye. Mrs. Dodds was this little math teacher from Georgia who always wore a black leather jacket, even though she was 50 years old. She looked mean enough to write a hardly right to your locker. She had come to Nixie halfway through the year when our last math teacher had a nervous breakdown. From her first day, Mrs. Dodds loved Nancy Bubblefit and figured I was the devil's spawn. She would point her crooked finger at me and say, "Now, honey," real sweet. I knew I was going to get after-school detention for a month. One time, after she made me erase answers out of old maths workbooks until midnight, I told Grover I didn't think Mrs. Dodds was a human. He looked at me real serious and said, "You're absolutely right." Mr. Brunner kept talking about Greg Plummer, or finally supposed to circumventing about the naked guy on the steel, and I turned around, so will you shut up? It came out louder than I meant to. The whole group laughed. Mr. Brunner stopped his story. Mr. Jackson, he said, you have a comment on my physical arrest. No, sir. Mr. Brunner pointed to one of these pictures on the steel. Perhaps he will tell us what this murder is. I looked at the corpse and he felt a flush of relief because I actually recognized it. That's Cronus eating his kids, right? Yes, Mr. Brunner said, obviously not satisfied. And he did this because, well, I remember to remember. Cronus was the king and God, Mr. Brunner asked. Titan, I corrected myself, and he didn't trust his kids who were the gods, so Cronus ate them, right? But his wife hid baby Zeus and gave Cronus a rug to eat instead. And later, when Zeus grew up, he introduced down to Cronus and the Barfield his brother sisters, even one of the girls behind me, and so there was this big fight between the gods and Titans, I continued, and the gods won. Some stickers from the group behind me. Nancy Buffett mumbled to a friend, like we're going to use in our robotics when still in garbage calculations. Please explain why Cronus ate his kids. And why, Mr. Jackson, Brunner said, to paraphrase Mrs. Bobbitt's excellent question, does this matter in real life? Busted, government shut up. Nancy hissed, her face even brighter than her hair. At least Nancy got packed too. Mr. Brunner was the only one who ever caught her saying anything wrong. He hadn't raided her ears. I thought about his question and shrugged. I don't know, sir. I see, Mr. Brunner looked disappointed. We'll have credit, Mr. Jackson. Zeus did indeed feed Cronus a mixture of mustard and wine, which made him discourse his other 5 children, who, of course, being immortal gods, had been living and growing up completely undigested in the Titan's stomach. The gods defeated their father, sliced him to pieces with his own scythe, and scattered his remains into Tartarus, the darkest place of the underworld. On that happy note, it's time for lunch. Mrs. Dawes, will you lead the best back outside? The class drifted off, the girls holding their stomachs, the gods pushing each other around and acting like doofuses. Grover and I were about to follow when Mr. Brunner said, Mr. Jackson, I knew it was coming. I told Grover to keep going. Then I turned toward Mr. Brunner. Sir? Mr. Brunner had this look that wouldn't let you go. Intense brown eyes that could have been 1,000 years old and had seen everything. You must learn the answer to my question, Mr. Brunner told me. About the Titans, about real life, and how your studies apply to it. Oh. What you learned from me, he said, is vitally important. I expect you to treat it as such. I will accept only the best from you, Percy Jackson. I wanted to get angry. This guy pushed me so hard. I mean, sure, it was kind of cool on tournament days when he dressed up in a suit of Roman armor and shouted, "Wow!" and challenged a sword point against Shock to run to the board and name every Greek woman person who has ever lived, and her mother, and what god they worshipped. But Mr. Brunner expected me to be as good as everybody else, despite the fact that I have dyslexia and attention deficit disorder, and I never made above a C in my life. No, he didn't expect me to be as good. He expected me to be better, and I couldn't learn all of those names and facts, much less than spell them correctly. I mumbled something about trying harder, while Mr. Brunner took one long, sad, and looked at Steele like he had been at this girl's funeral. He told me to go outside and eat my lunch. The class gathered on the front steps of the museum, where we could watch the foot traffic along the 5th Avenue. Overheard a huge storm was brewing with clouds blacker than I'd ever seen over the city. I figured maybe it was a little bit warming or something, because the weather was all across New York City had been weird since Christmas. We'd had massive snowstorms, flooding, wildflowers from lightning strikes. I wouldn't have been surprised if this was a hurricane blowing again. Nobody else seemed to notice. Some of the guys were planting pigeons with Lunchable crackers. Nancy Bubblefoot was trying to pickpocket something from a lady's purse. And, of course, Mrs. Dodds wasn't seeing a thing. Grover and I sat on the edge of the fountain, away from the others. We thought that maybe if we had everybody wouldn't know that we were from that school. The school for loser freaks who couldn't make it elsewhere. Detention, Grover asked. Nah, I said, not from Brunner. I just wish she'd lay off me sometimes. I mean, I'm not a genius. Grover didn't say anything for a while. Then, when I thought he was going to give me some deep philosophical comment to make me feel better, he said, Can I have your sample? I didn't have much of an appetite, so I let him take it. I watched the stream of the cabs going down 5th Avenue and thought about my mom's apartment only a little way downtown from where we sat. I hadn't seen her since Christmas. I wanted so bad to jump in a taxi and head home. She'd hug me and be glad to see me, but she'd be disappointed too. She'd send me right back to Yancey Academy, remind me that I had to try harder. Even if this was my 6th school in 6 years, I was probably going to be kicked out again. I wouldn't be able to stand that sad look she'd give me. Mr. Brunner parked his wheelchair at the base of the handicapped ramp. He ate celery while he read a pepper bag novel. A red umbrella stuck up from the back of his chair, making it look like a motorized cafe table. I was about to unwrap my sandwich when Nancy Bubblefoot appeared in front of me with her ugly friends. I guess she'd gotten tired of stealing from the tourists and dumped her half-eaten lunch in Grover's lap. Oops, she grinned at me with her crooked teeth. Her freckles were orange, as if somebody had spray painted her face with liquid Cheetos. I tried to stay cool. The counselors had told me a million times, count to 10, get control of your temper. But I was so mad my mom went black. A wave roared in my ears. I don't remember touching her, but the next thing I knew, Nancy was sitting on her boat in the fountain, screaming, "Percy, push me!" Mrs. Dawes materialized next to us. Some of the kids were whispering, "Did you see the water?" Like it grabbed her. I didn't know what they were talking about. All I knew was that I was in trouble again. As soon as Mrs. Dawes was sure poor little Nancy was okay, promising her a new short at the museum gift shop, etc., etc., Mrs. Dawes turned on me. There was a triumph fire in her eyes, as if I had done something she'd been waiting for all semester. "Now, honey, I know," I grumbled, "a month's erasing workbooks." That wasn't the right thing to say. "Come with me," Mrs. Dawes said. "Wait," Gilbert yelped. It was me. I pushed her. I stared at him stunned. I could not believe he was trying to cover for me. Mrs. Dawes stared over to Des. She glared at him so hard his whiskey tin trembled. "I don't think so, Mr. Underwood," she said, "but you will stay here." Grover looked at me desperately. "It's okay, man," I told him. "Thanks for trying." "Honey," Mrs. Dawes barked at me. "Now." Nancy Bullfit smirked. I gave her my deluxe "I'll kill you later" stare. Then I turned to face Mrs. Dawes, but she wasn't there. She was standing at the museum entrance, way at the top of steps, gesturing impatiently at me to come on. How'd she get there so fast? I almost looked out low when my brain fell asleep or something, and the next thing I knew, I missed something as if it possibly fell off the universe and left me staring at that blank page behind it. The school counselor told me that this was part of the ADHD, my brain misinterpreting things. I wasn't so sure. I went after Mrs. Dawes. Halfway up the steps, I glanced back at Grover, who was looking pale, cleaning his eyes between me and Mr. Brunner, like he wanted Mr. Brunner to know something was going on. But Mr. Brunner was still going novel. I looked back at Mrs. Dawes, had disappeared. She was down outside the building at the end of the entrance hall. Okay, I thought she was going to buy a new shirt for Nancy Ball, so I took off shit. But apparently that wasn't the plan. I followed her deep into the museum. When I finally caught up to her, she was back in the great Roman section. Except for us, the gallery was empty. Mrs. Dawes stood with her arms crossed in front of the big marble frieze of the great god. She was making this weird noise in her throat like growling. Even without the noise, I would have been nervous. It's weird being alone with a teacher, especially Mrs. Dawes. But think about the way she looked at the frieze was like she wanted to pulverize it. "You've been giving us problems, honey," she said. I did the same thing. I said, "Yes, ma'am." She tugged on the cuffs on her leather jacket. "Did you really think you would get away with it?" The look in her eye was beyond mad. It was evil. She was a teacher, I thought nervously. It's not like she was going to hurt me. I said, I'll try harder, ma'am." Thunder shook the building. "We are not full Percy Jackson," Mrs. Dawes said. "It was only a matter of time before we found out and confessed that we would suffer less pain." I didn't know what she was talking about. All I could think of was the teachers must have found a legal sexual kidnapping stealing out of my dorm room. Or maybe they realized I got my essay from Tom Saver from the internet without ever reading the book, and now they were going to take away from my grade, or worse, they were going to make me read the book. "Well, she didn't mean that, ma'am. Your time is up," she hissed. Then the weird thing happened. Her eyes began to glow like barbecue coals, her fingers stretched, turning into talons. Her jacket melted into large leathery wings. She wasn't human. She was a shriveled hag with a bat wing and claws, a mouthful of yellow fingers. She was about to slice me into ribbons. Then things got stranger. Mr. Brunner, who'd been out from the museum in before, had wheeled his chair into the doorway of the gallery, holding a pen in his hand. "What help?" Percy shouted and tossed the pen through the air. Mr. Dawes looked at me. With a yelp, I dodged and fell to the talons there next to my ear. I snatched the long pen out of the air. When it hit my hand, it wasn't a pen anymore. It was a sword. Mr. Brunner's bronze sword, which he had always used on tormented days. Mrs. Bott spun toward me with a murderous look in her eyes. My knees were jelly, my hands were shaking, so bad I almost dropped the sword. She snarled, "Die, honey," and she flew straight at me. Absolute terror went through my body. I did the only thing that came naturally. I swung the sword. The metal blade hit her shoulder and passed clean through her body as if she were made of water. Mrs. Dawes was a sandcastle and a power fan. She exploded into yellow powder, vaporized on the spot, leaving nothing but the smell of sulfur and a dying screech and the chill of evil in the air. As if those two glowing eyes were watching me still. I was alone. There was a ballpoint pen in my hand. Mr. Brunner wasn't there. Nobody was there, but my was swimming. My lunch was contained with magic mushrooms or something. Had I imagined the whole thing, I would have outside started raining. Over was sitting by the fountain on the museum mat, tunnel over the head. Nancy Bopper was still standing there, soaked from her swim in the mountain, grumbling to her ugly friends. When she saw me, she said, I hope Mr. Kerr whipped your butt." I said, "Who?" "Our teacher, duh." I blinked. "We had no teacher named Mr. Kerr," I asked. "Nancy, what was she talking about?" She rolled her eyes and turned away. I asked her, where Mr. Dawes was. He said, "Who?" But he paused at first. He wouldn't look at me, so I thought he was messing with me. "Not funny, me," I told him. "This is serious. The thunder boot overhead." I saw Mr. Brunner standing under his red umbrella, reading this book as if he never moved. I went over to him. He looked a little distracted. "Ah, that'd be my pen. Please bring me your own writing utensil in the future, Mr. Jackson." I handed Mr. Brunner his pen. I hadn't even realized I was still holding it. "Sir," I said, "where's Mrs. Dawes?" He stared at me blankly. "Who?" "The other chaperone, Mrs. Dawes, the pre-algebra teacher." He frowned and sat forward, looking mildly concerned. "Percy, there was no Mrs. Dawes on this trip. As far as I know, there's never been a Mrs. Dawes in Antiquity. Are you feeling all right?"